Hey, good morning to Emma. How are you? Are you able to hear me okay, folks? Emma, can you hear me okay? How's the audio right now? Now, when you say yes, I'm assuming that you mean that the audio is clear and crisp, and you can hear me beautifully, huh? Well, we will get started just in a few seconds. I've got to be mindful of my time today because this is one of two that this customer from Salt Lake City sent to the workshop. And again, as I implied from what I typed into the live chat, Uh, Jane Davis has been a teacher of children for quite some time with a business based in Salt Lake City, Utah. And these particular machines were in the mix with her students, and at least one of them ended up shorting out because one of the students was working with pins and somehow managed to drop a pin in an opening that went into the inside of the machine, must have made contact with the circuit board and shorted the machine out. So the boards for these machines are no longer manufactured, but I'm hoping that I can either repair the board by soldering the damaged portion, or I can find really three options: either repair the board, find a donor machine where the board can be pulled from that, or if push comes to shove, take one machine and make the other one whole from it. So at least we'll end up with one machine. I'm hoping we can end up with two, but it's so early in the process right now. I have no idea what we're going to find once I start digging into the machines and discover how bad the damage is. So we will know soon enough. So welcome to everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to Renee as well. Welcome to Renee and to Emma B. And any of the other folks that are in the shadows right now, welcome to you as well. If you decide you want to step out, we'd love to be able to meet you. Otherwise, if you want to sit in the shadows and kind of watch what's happening, that's totally fine too. But again, these machines really are tied to kids. And whenever a cause or an effort is tied to children, it immediately grabs my attention. So when Jane reached out by phone and she said, I don't know, I've had these sitting to the side for some time now. They've been on a commission, and I'm concerned that other machines are also going to go down. Would you be willing to try to see if you can repair these machines? We don't have a lot of resources down in Salt Lake City, Utah area. And the people that I have approached about it have basically said, you might as well look at buying a new machine. Buy a new machine. Well, when you're a small business owner, trying to buy a new machine can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. I will tell you that the machines that we're going to unbox today originally sold for almost $4,000 each. So, from the original retail price, the two machines that we're going to unbox today originally cost close to $10,000. Close to $10,000. So, for a small business owner to be told by a local repair shop, oh, just why don't you just buy a new one from us? That's not an easy pill to swallow. So we'll keep our fingers and toes crossed that I can find a solution for both machines that we're going to unbox. But if nothing else, I'm hoping we can at least get one of them back online and give Jane additional resources to share her love of sewing with these students down in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm curious. I have, back in the day when I was doing consulting work in healthcare, this is many, 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 many moons ago. I was working as an operations specialist and I was traveling all over the country, helping owner operators of assisted livings and places like that get their operations running well. And in some cases, getting them out of trouble with the state. And one of the places I traveled one time was, in fact, Salt Lake City, Utah, but it was in the middle of the night because we were doing what's referred to in business as, and it sounds nasty and it really is, we were doing what's called a hostile takeover, where there was an assisted living that had fallen into very, very bad straits, very, very bad trouble. And it was needing to be taken over and turned around quickly. And there was some resistance in having that done. So I didn't see a lot of Salt Lake City, but when I flew in, it looked kind of like a cool place. Has anyone else in the live stream ever been to Utah? Has anyone ever been to Salt Lake City, Utah? What was your impression of that place? I'm just curious. What was your impression of Salt Lake City, Utah, if you've been there? I think that there's also, I see it pop up on Facebook all the time. I think that there's also a comedy club down in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm going to turn the camera a little bit and get into the shot here. I think there's also a comedy club in Salt Lake City, Utah as well. I think it's called Dry Bar, isn't it? Dry Bar. If you look up on Facebook, Dry Bar, I think it's a comedy club. And if I'm not mistaken, it's based down in Utah, Salt Lake City. So that's about my extent. That's the extent of the knowledge that I have for Utah and Salt Lake City. Some of you probably in the comments will share much greater insights than I just did with you. But I have a customer coming to the workshop around noonish today. So I'm going to really try to be efficient with my time. I'll glance at the live chat periodically, but for the moderators that are present, I'll kind of let them take care of our family and also monitor things as well. I'll be focusing on the unboxings of these machines from Jane from Salt Lake City, Utah. But if you need to get my attention and I'm just not noticing you, or you want to ask a question or make a comment live during this live stream, give me a call. This is a new thing that I'm offering, which I think is kind of fun. Give me a call. I won't show your number. I'll put you on speaker so everyone can hear your voice and hear your question or your comment, and then I'll respond to it or whatever. So it'll just be kind of a new dimension to the live streams, where almost like a call-in show on the radio, where you'll be able to call me during the live stream, express your comment, ask your question, whatever. And folks will, if they've always seen you in the live chat, they'll be able to finally hear your voice, which is kind of cool. Kind of put a voice with, with a screen name on YouTube. And again, I promise I won't show your number. So you'll have your privacy maintained as well, apart from people hearing your voice, obviously. So I'm going to focus now on the unboxing. I'll take a quick look at the live chat to see if I want to say good morning to anyone. And then we'll get going on this so you can see what did Jane Davis send us at the workshop, send me, it's only me, send me at the workshop that she wants to try to get back into commission to benefit her sewing students down in Salt Lake City, Utah. So, all right, I'm going to take a look at the comments and then we'll get busy. So I'm going to say a quick good morning to, I already said good morning to Emma and to Renee. I also will say good morning to our friend from, I believe from Germany, Tadel. So guten Morgen, Tadel. Guten Morgen, wie geht's? And let's see, good morning to Hummingbird. Isn't that a fun name? Hummingbird. Welcome to Hummingbird as well, from the beautiful state of South Carolina, it looks like. Good morning to Susie from Minnesota. Good morning to, and that's it. That's all I see in the live chat. So, welcome to all the folks in the live chat. If anyone else joins the live chat, I know that the moderating team, Emma and Susie, will make you feel welcome. They're also very passionate about vintage sewing machines and knowledgeable. So, if you have a general question, perhaps about the manufacturing company of the machines that we're going to unbox or otherwise, don't be shy about asking questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. There's no such thing as asking a question that supposedly everyone should know. We all come with different experience and backgrounds. And the one thing you'll find about our family, our cow country family, is we don't judge, we don't criticize. We're not of the belief that we have all the answers. And so it really is a collaborative environment where we learn together. I learn as much from all of you as you learn from me. And it's kind of fun that way. So don't be afraid to ask a question. Again, if you want to call in and ask a question live during the live stream so folks can actually hear your voice, I think that would be kind of fun. And Go ahead and do that as well. But I'm going to jump into this and see if we can't figure out what these machines are. We might even try plugging them in initially and just see if anything happens. And I'll have my fire extinguisher nearby just in case, we have some sparks or smoke or fire or something like that. Matter of fact, I probably should grab it while I'm thinking about it. I always keep this nearby in the workshop just in case, because I've had some weird things happen in the workshop, not as much during unboxings, but certainly during the initial evaluation of certain machines. So I've learned to be cautious just in case. So we'll keep this nearby in case we need it later. All right. So let's see what we have. Let's see what we have from Salt Lake City, Utah. And I didn't notice if anyone typed it or not, but does someone want to real quick just tell us what is the distance that these two machines traveled from Salt Lake City, Utah to Oconto, Wisconsin? If someone's handy with Google and can just Google distance from Salt Lake City, Utah to Oconto, Wisconsin, I'd just be curious to know how far these machines traveled because I didn't look that up. So let me know what you find. Type it in the live chat just so everyone knows. I always like to share that just so you can gain an appreciation for how far our family reaches out. If you're brand new to cow country and you don't know it, we have a reach around the globe. Even today during this live stream, we have a friend that is joining us from Germany. And we have friends regularly that join us from all around the world. And we've also had the privilege to ship machines and receive machines from around the world as well. So, not to say that we're like power people or something like that, but people pay attention to what we do. They pay attention to the work that I'm putting out of the workshop and that's really an honor and a privilege and nothing that I brag about, but I just celebrate the blessing of that. So glad that all of you are here today, and an early thank you to the moderating team for making everyone feel and taking care of things while I'm focused over here on seeing what Jane Davis sent us from Salt Lake City, Utah. So, all right, I'm going to get to work on this, and we'll find out shortly. And I'm pushing on the top of this box. I talk about this often. When you open a box, as common sense as it seems, always push down to see how much give the top of that box has. You don't want to be cutting into a box and then all of a sudden damage something on the other side. I'm not feeling a lot of give here. I'm not feeling a lot of give. So right away, I'm going to be extra cautious. And with my particular little X-Acto knife thing, I can set the blade at any height that I want. So I'm going to set the blade really short and just try to be extra cautious as we're getting into this box. Okay, well, the good news is what I felt on the other side of the box looks like it's some sort of a foam. So it's not the machine itself, but you never know, right? So we've got some foam, looks like almost like sheets of foam that are right here near the top. Go ahead and pull those out of the way. And now we've got some paper. And I don't know if Jane Davis packed these herself or if she hired someone to pack them. But I will give whether she did it or whether a third party did it on her behalf. I'm going to give feedback on the packing process anyway. I'm never ever seeking to offend anyone and say, "Oh, you did a crummy job of packing." But I like to give that feedback so that it becomes a learning lesson to others that are looking at sending their machines to the workshop, or for that matter, if they're getting a machine somewhere else and they're dealing with a seller, they can give that seller advance notice as to what they recommend as far as a packing method. A lot of the sellers out there, if you don't know this, and I think you do because you're really smart, but a lot of the sellers out there right now on eBay and Etsy and Pinterest and other places like that, Facebook Marketplace, a lot of them are really, really ignorant. I'm just going to use that word intentionally. They're very, very ignorant. They're unknowing about vintage sewing machines. They see a metal machine or they see a machine in general, and then they assume that it's going to be durable enough to endure being shipped without a lot of fanfare in packing it. That's a big mistake, and we've seen that materialize multiple times during unboxings where someone has taken a casual approach to unboxing, and the result is devastating. Just recently, you remember I received a machine from Sarah and David down in Oklahoma, and the entire base of the machine, it was a 192K, a Spartan. The entire base of the machine was destroyed. And there was also internal damage to that machine as well. So David and Sarah and I have talked about it, and I worked out a different solution for them because the Spartan would have been cost prohibitive for them as based on their budgeting and that to pay all the expense of repairing it. So they've invited me to keep the machine for parts, and then I'll go ahead and provide them with an alternative machine, a machine actually that's going to serve them even better than the Spartan for the leather sewing they're looking to do. I actually sourced a Singer 1591 for them. And a 1591, as you probably know from that Class 15 series that presented itself first in right around 1932, that machine is going to have direct drive. And direct drive is a huge advantage when you're sewing leather or heavy goods for a home-based business. So it's a sad result of getting the machine arriving damaged, the 192K that they shipped from Oklahoma, but it actually proved to be a blessing duty leather sewing. So kind of funny the way things work out sometimes, isn't it? All right, let me get this out of the way. Let's dig a little bit deeper and see what we find here. So far what I'm seeing is the core packing and protection of this machine is this paper is very, very popular among commercial packers. It's a lot easier to stuff it in real quick. It's a lot more efficient. It takes their packing process much less time to use something like this versus my packing method. And also, as some states are moving towards becoming unfriendly to packing peanuts, and one of those states is California, that has all but outlawed the use of packing peanuts in their state. Seems like California is always outlawing things. I guess that's part of their vision of being environmentally friendly, but it certainly does put a little bit of a twist and turn and challenge into the mix of things for a lot of those businesses that are trying to pack up things and ship it all over the place. So we've got paper, we've got a little bit on top of this foam type padding that's in there as well. I don't use this stuff, but I might find a use for it. I always like to recycle things. I don't want things to get thrown into the garbage and end up in a landfill. So if I can repurpose it, I'll repurpose it. But let's dig deeper and see if there are other packing methods beyond this, the paper and this foam padding being used to protect this machine that was shipped to the workshop. All right, I'm just going to get a quick drink to wet my whistle, and we'll continue this unboxing. And you can give me feedback on the shot right now. I think we've got a fairly decent shot, so you can see what's happening inside of the box. And I'll try to adjust it as we go, so you can kind of get a clear vision of the machine as we're starting to reveal what it is. So I can verify it with Jane, but I have a hunch that with this type of paper being used primarily to pad around this machine, this was probably done at a UPS store. That would be my guess. But I can verify that with Jane. But again, I don't care. I don't care if it was UPS or if it was the customer. I always try to be kind, but I also try to be honest in evaluating the packing process. Paper is not a bad product to use for padding, but it certainly isn't the best. Paper tends to have a little bit of a cushion factor, but it also has a rigidity to it as well. And whenever something has a rigidity where it's not going to cushion a blow and kind of push back against that strike or that damage, whatever's trying to happen or impact the outside of the box, that means that shock wave that otherwise wouldn't be as effectively absorbed by paper is going to then travel into the inner box, and it's potentially going to impact that sewing machine on the inside. So while this is an efficient commercial way, and it's used by UPS, I believe it's used by FedEx as well. They've got basically a big roll of this stuff, and you'll see them if they're packing your stuff. They're pulling this stuff down rapidly, and they're just kind of stuffing it into the box very quickly as an efficient way to get their item packed so they can get done with it. They can charge you for packing it, and they can get it heading on its way. So, I'm not a huge fan of paper, but it's better than nothing, right? And we've seen boxes arrive as well that have little or no padding. So, some sort of bubble type wrap that has little, almost like little airbags on it. You've seen me use that before in the packing videos. That would be a lot better. And they could just as easily pull that down and stuff it down around here. And then it would have even a better cushion perimeter around this box. But guess what? Bubble wrap is a lot more expensive than this stuff. So it would be a hard sell to go to UPS or FedEx and say, why don't you use bubble wrap instead of this? They're going to laugh and they're going to go, that's not going to work. And if we use it, we're going to have to double our shipping prices for customers. So all right, we're getting closer. I never got that drink. Let's do that real quick. I know this is probably not the ideal breakfast drink, but when I'm doing these live streams, I do a lot of blah, blah, blah. And this just hits a spot. I don't know if anyone else is a Diet Coke drinker or if we have Diet Pepsi drinkers in the live stream, but sometimes a soda in the morning, as odd as it sounds, it just hits a spot, doesn't it?
And I'm looking down on the bottom, and they do have some padding on the bottom of the box. It looks like that. Um, it looks like a combination of this, and then it's some of that real stiff styrofoam, the stuff that tends to break up in shipping. It breaks into little pieces because it's really, really rigid. But again, it's good to see that there's something on the bottom of this box instead of nothing. We've seen that as well. Literally, we're unboxing a vintage machine. The pedestal feet are all the way through the bottom of the cardboard box. So you know what? There's always room for improvement, but this is better than some of the packing that we've seen. Oh, good morning to Sunny as well. Good morning to Sunny, and good morning to Christine from Canada. And I think I said hello to everybody. Christine and I talked the other day via chat, and she has been incredibly busy in Canada, incredibly busy. And right now, up in Canada, they're facing a lot of energy challenges, and it's caused the price of energy to almost double in Canada. So, if you were accustomed to paying, say, $100 a month for a particular utility, now it's about $200 or more. And Christine was sharing that with me. And I feel so sorry for the Canadians right now as they're facing such a major challenge in covering those costs. You know, generally we don't exponentially make a lot of extra money right away when costs go up. Inflation just happens, and now they're faced with a lot of challenges. So keep our friends up in Canada and Christine in thought and prayer as they battle this utility crisis or whatever it is. She can, if she wants to share more detail, because I might not be getting it exactly right. She can share more as to what that is. But my heart just sank. My heart sank as she was sharing with me the challenge that they're facing right now with covering those costs and trying to make their budgets work as these costs have gone up to such a crazy level. So, well, it looks like Sunny said her utilities have nearly doubled as well. So it must be all over the place. It must be all over the place. Carbon fuel tax is what Christine wrote. Carbon fuel tax. So, wow. Okay. I'm going to keep unboxing and I'll let you all chat. And I just let YouTube pick the music. So you probably can't hear the music as usual. But playing in the background right now is Christmas music. You know what? I don't mind celebrating Christmas all year long. I just don't. It's such a beautiful season, such a beautiful time. So in the background, you can't hear it probably, but I'm enjoying Christmas carols right now. Oh, oh my God. What fun. All right, I'm going to try to get this out. Oops, I'm a little bit scared at this point. I just slid my hand. I slid my hand underneath, expecting to feel uh, that the machine was fully cocooned, and I'm feeling the bottom of the machine right now, which means the bottom of the machine is riding against that thin layer of padding on the bottom. There's no additional padding underneath the machine. Oh my gosh! I hope we. I mean, yeah, it's not already working. Right, I get that, but it's not working. But we don't want to cause further damage as it's banging against. This came by way of UPS. It's banging against those cement truck beds and against cement floors in their buildings. So this is a little bit spooky. If I grab this and pull it up, I'm literally gonna knock my little elf down up here. I'm literally going to expose the machine straight away. So again, not to be critical, but we can do better. I'll actually lift it up and show you the bottom, kind of what I'm talking about here. Get my grip on it. There's the bottom of the machine right there. See this, in my humble opinion, this right here should have about that much padding attached to the body of the machine. Should have about 1 to 2 inches of padding attached to the bottom, along with having additional padding like this on the bottom of the box itself. So this is a major opportunity. This is a major opportunity to improve right here. This is a major opportunity to improve. So, and I just heard my phone go off. I think it was Emma texting me. So let me see if I need to respond to something. Okay, the music is muffling my voice. So let me shut the music off. Appreciate that feedback. Appreciate that feedback. Let me know. I've turned the music completely off. I've shut the music off completely. Is my audio cleaning up now? Are you able to hear me okay now? Because I can leave the Christmas music off. I don't need to have Christmas music on right now. And I appreciate that feedback from Emma. Emma just shot me that text real quick. Can you all hear me okay now? Okay. So Susie is saying, Christine is saying, okay. So across the board, even with this improved microphone that I'm using, if you haven't seen this before, I'll just show it to you real quick. Even with this improved microphone that I'm using now, before I was relying on the microphone that was built into the camera, and then I purchased this as an auxiliary type microphone that would be able to provide better audio quality. And the feedback has been real positive. I was hoping by using this that it would eliminate that muffling issue, but apparently it's a product of the technology. This is made by Razer. The camera is made by Razer, and apparently they have a noise canceling feature on it that unless I add a mixer, which I'm going to do eventually, when I add a mixer to this, I'll be able to override some of those muffling problems that we're having now, and hopefully be able to resume having, a little bit of music playing in the background as we're doing different things. But for right now, it looks like we're going to be stuck with you just being able to listen to my voice. So I'll try to sing or do something musical periodically to make it interesting. So, all right, let me get this out of the way, and I'll just show you in the bottom of the box real quick. So we've got this more rigid style stuff. And again, the reason I'm not a huge fan of this is it's real brittle. And even with just 2 fingers, I can show you, this stuff tends to splinter, and it doesn't do a super duper job of absorbing the impact shock waves that happen as this box is being tossed onto the beds of UPS trucks, or it's being thrown across the floor in their warehouses as it's going from one truck to another in its travel distance from Salt Lake City to Oconto, Wisconsin. Hey, if one of the moderators could look at the chat and see did anyone ever type in the distance from Salt Lake City, Utah to Oconto, Wisconsin? If they did, would you retype it in the chat? I'm just going to look at the chat real quick. Otherwise, if someone could Google it real quick, I'm just curious how far this box traveled because again, it didn't have the worst packing that I've seen, but at the same time, the packing's not brag worthy with stuff like this. It just doesn't do a great job of protecting the machine. So I'm just curious. This is the inside of the box you can see right here. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and then we'll move into the main box right here. And I always encourage customers when I'm talking to them, wherever they're shipping the machine from. I did the same thing with Adam when he and I were beginning our conversations about his Swedish Beauty that he wanted to ship from London, England, all the way to Oconto, Wisconsin, a 4,000-mile journey. I said, watch my packing videos. I've got a playlist set up of all the packing of machines that I've done on camera. And you can watch the different machines and see what I've done. And Adam generally did a decent job with that. Other folks will say, oh, yeah, I'll watch them. But then they get busy. They never watch them, or they use a third party to pack the machine. And then all of a sudden, we get results that are less than brag worthy when it comes to the packing method. So, we'll have to wait and see. We'll just have to wait and see how the machine fared. But to have no padding on the bottom of here, and just it riding against that thin layer of mediocre padding on the bottom and bouncing against that as it's, taking its journey from Salt Lake City, Utah to Oconto, Wisconsin, it's a little bit scary to me. It's a little bit scary. Okay, so Emma did. Thank you, Sonny. I wasn't looking at the chat, so I didn't know if somebody had responded or not, but Emma just typed around 1,500 miles. 1,527 miles. That's a long ways. That's a long distance. It's not around the block. It's not like getting a machine, from Illinois or Missouri or Michigan. That's a long distance, over 1,500 miles. Yeah, and Christine is commenting. She said, not only the distance, but the roads and the roughness of the roads. So this thing is going along, and it's going like this the whole time against the bottom of that box with that thin little layer of padding. So yeah, kind of spooky. All right. So I'm going to see, and these fancy scissors that were designed for nurses and for EMTs, I think is what the box said. I'm going to try to use these a little bit as well to cut through some of this stuff on top so we can get into the bottom of this box eventually. I've seen these used on medical programs before. Sonny is a retired nurse. I'll bet you Sonny used these, and I'll bet you Paula Noel and some of our other nurses are looking at these and going, oh, you have no idea how many times I use those. I used them all the time. Well, I could use a training class because, they're a little bit awkward to hold. Normally you put like one finger, but because of the size of this, I've got to do 2 fingers on the bottom and I've got to do my thumb on the top. So I'm doing my best with these, but if any of our nurses or EMTs want to offer any advice on, is there a better way to hold these suckers? That would be appreciated, because I'm feeling a little bit awkward right now, but I'm very grateful that Emma sent them, because I was always talking about pointing the scissors away from the machine, and these are automatically kind of pointed away, aren't they? So when you're cutting, it's creating a little bit of a buffer. It even has this little edge thing right there to kind of guard from cutting your patient. Yeah. So, and they're really sharp. Holy mackerel, are they sharp? I've cut through a couple of things with these, and it was just like zoop. Amazing. All right, I think I'm going to see if I can just pull this down think I'm going to have to use my scissors to cut this down a little bit. See if I can do that. So this is basically like a covering. So I'm just going to lift it up, and then you'll finally be able to see what kind of machine this is. And apparently this particular model of this machine is incredibly popular with Jane's students. Incredibly popular. All right, so I'm going to rotate it like this because I think I can see that. This is the front. I hope this is the front. It might be. Yeah, I believe it is. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this, and you can look at it clearly. I'll go ahead and lift this up, and you'll be able to get your initial glimpse of this machine. And this machine, again, I don't know if it's this one or the other one, but one of these machines, a student was working with pins, and you know how on some of these machines, there's little gaps. There's tiny little gap points where something potentially could fall into the machine. And one of the students was fumbling with a pin, lost their grip on it or whatever, and it dropped down inside of the machine and zip, shorted it out just like that. So, yeah, I mean, it happens, doesn't it? It happens. All right, so without further ado, I'll give a quick. And this is our machine right here. So this is probably, Jane said, around 12 to 15 years old. I was kind of shocked because she sent me a picture of it and it looked like it was almost like it was brand new. And for all the students to be handling this machine, she apparently runs a pretty tight ship. And, you know, there's not a lot of, you know, they don't have drinks, they don't have gummy bears and other things like that in the sewing area. The machine has been maintained very, very well, hasn't it? Very, very well. So, apart from shorting out, and this goes back to, again, when you look at this machine, this would not be considered a vintage machine. And that's part of the reason. A while back, this was my go-to business card right here. And as I started to develop more of a friendship with the folks at Joann's over in Marinette, Wisconsin, and I gave them a bunch of my cards, they never really criticized the card, but one of them did say, well, this is an older machine, right? Do you work on newer machines? Do you work on new machines? And I said, yeah, I do. I've had a number of very expensive long arm quilting machines on the workbench, some of them $15,000, $16,000 machines. And then all of a sudden, and I wish I could remember which customer it was, but one of the customers that I served on the East Coast, I don't remember, it may have been the Carolinas, South Carolina, North Carolina. She was really pleased with my work in repairing and restoring her machine. And she sent me a lovely handwritten note. And on the note was this graphic right here. You can see that in the shot. And I thought that was the coolest graphic ever. And I believe she came up with it herself and then made some stationery and added it to her stationery. But I thought, isn't this spot on? Because I talk all the time about my surgical approach. I talk all the time about, you know, this being a place where sick machines can come and they can get their greatness back again. And I thought, what a perfect thing. So, you know, I started with her blessing, I started using it. And I gave it to the people down at Bay Impressions. And I said, can you put this on my business card? Can you put this on my business card so that I can pass this out? And I still have some of these as well. So I can also pass these out to customers that have the older machines. So between this one And now this one, I can accommodate and send a message that I'm able to take care of any sewing machine. And I say it all the time. Every sewing machine deserves the opportunity for greatness. Every sewing machine, whether it's newer like this one might be, or much, much older like this one right here. Yeah. So this is obviously a newer machine, quite a bit newer than what you normally see on this channel. But it deserves greatness too. It definitely deserves greatness. All right, what do we have here? A Singer buttonhole attachment. I don't think that this, and I'll have to revisit my notes with Jane. She might have sent this along just as a gift to me, because I don't see this being attached to this machine. No, I don't think so. So I'll have to clarify with her, but I believe she mentioned she had it, didn't have any use for it, and she said, should I just send it along with the machine? I said, sure, that'd be great. Thank you so much. So if anyone, I've got a lot of buttonholers already in my bag of tricks. This is a very unique looking one here. Look at this. As I'm dropping parts all over the place. That almost looks like a pinking type attachment. I'm still dropping parts. Has anyone seen one of these before? I've got a couple up on my workbench. Really kind of a neat little gadget, isn't it? And then there's additional goodies that Jane included as well, additional attachments that she included along with this. Hem guides, rolling hems, regular presser feet. Yeah. So I'm not looking at the chat right now, but I wonder if anyone else has one of these, or if anyone else has ever used one of these before. I'm not, and I've said this many, many times, I'm not an attachment guy. I'm not an attachment guy. I just don't have the luxury of time to be able to explore these. But some people absolutely adore and love attachments. They just love them. Yeah. They love them, love them, love them. And this one even might have directions with it. Let me see what this, I'm just going to set this down real quick. I'll do this, and I don't want to freak Jane out, but I'll set it right here. Let's see. Singer lock stitch machines, and that is one. That is a buttonholer according to these instructions. But that's a really odd looking one, isn't it? Compared to the later versions that Singer came out with. This has to be one of the earlier ones. I'll look at the live chat just to see if anyone has any insights or has seen one of these before. But this is the original instructions. It doesn't, does it have a date? 1946? It looks like it was revised in 1946. So does anyone really love, I mean, does anyone really love attachments like this? Would anyone love to have this attachment? Would anyone be like, oh my gosh, I would go crazy to have an attachment like that so I could check it out? It looks like, you know, it looks like it's pretty complicated, but it's probably actually quite simple to use, isn't it? And from the, if this is in fact from around the 1940s, this is really quite collectible too, isn't it? It's quite collectible. Quite collectible. That's quite a piece, isn't it? Quite a piece. Well, thank you, Jane. Thank you so much for Jane sending this to the workshop as a gift. But I happen to be in the habit of, if this is going to go up on a shelf and it's going to collect dust, I would much sooner, if there's someone that's really passionate about attachments and they're just like, oh my gosh, like Scott, I will bust your door down right now. I will kick your door down. Even if Hank attacks me, I will fight past him and I will get down to the workshop and I will collect that up and I will say thank you so much. I will say thank you so much. So I'm going to look at the live chat right now, see what y'all are saying. Set that right there with the instructions as well, the original instructions. Cool, really cool. So really on the workbench right now, we've got a mix of more contemporary with very vintage as well. That's fun. That's a fun mix. What a fun mix. The Singer Penguin walking foot is adorable. Yeah, why not? Very pricey. I need it for my 221-1. I have almost every attachment for it. Christine is saying from Canada. Time for Google. Susie is saying that I should ship this all the way to Canada. All the way to Canada to Christine so she can attach it to her 221. Is it a 221-1, I believe she said? I saw it somewhere in there. Two two one. So this is not light. This is not light. I'll tell you what. I'll give you a deal, Christine. I'll give you a deal. I will send this attachment in the original box with the instructions if you are willing to cover only the shipping. If you'll cover the shipping cost to get it to Canada, then I will regift this very cool button holder thingy, what you call a Gitchy Magoo, as my father would have said. I will regift this to you so you can use it up in Canada with your 221. So if you're willing to cover the shipping, I will go to the post office. I'll kind of get this into a box and I'll find out based on your address how much it'll cost to get it to you. And then I'll include some other goodies at the same time. And then I'll ship it to you. If that's a deal, and you don't have to say it publicly, but if you want to text me and say, deal, no deal, whatever, then I will regift this. Because I'll be honest with you, I've got this attachment. I've got so many other attachments. You can kind of see them in the background over there. I've got additional attachments over here. This is a really nifty one right here. Look at this one. This will freak you out. Here's another attachment that I've acquired over the years. And again, I'm not an attachment guy. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun looking? I've got so many attachments. I could have a yard sale with sewing machine attachments and just invite vintage people, by invitation only. So many attachments. And not being an attachment guy, it's kind of a waste, isn't it? Kind of a waste. But eventually there'll be a purpose for them. There'll eventually be a purpose for them. Here's another one. This is a fun one right here. I'll just show you real quick. This looks similar to the one that is in the box that I just got. But I've got probably, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many of these I have. Lots of them. I've got lots of them. Lots of them. Maybe what I could do for the next major contest, and we're almost halfway there already. Right now, we're almost at 13,500 subscribers. So since our last major contest, we've gained almost another 500 subscribers already, just in a few months. And maybe I'll, instead of giving away a sewing machine, maybe I'll display all of my attachments. Some of them are very unique. And the person can have their pick of, maybe 2 or 3 attachments or something like that. I have no idea. But Amazing mechanics in building these, isn't it? Amazing mechanics and engineering. See if I have another one. It's kind of fun. Yeah, here's another one. Original box. You see the dust on top. I could write my name in the dust. What is this one? What is this one? Zipper and cording foot. No, that's just the attachment. That's not for this machine itself. This attachment. Oh, okay. This is a different version. This is a very different version of an automatic zigzagger. This is an automatic zigzagger that was not made by Singer. This was not made by Singer. This was made by another company. And it's still in the plastic bag. Let's see, we'll get this one out. Yeah, that's going to be similar. It's never been used. It's brand new, but it's probably from the 1940s, 1950s. That's quite cool, isn't it? Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, I mean, it'd be like a candy. If you're an attachment person, which I'm not, if you came into the workshop and I just, let's say you were a major contest winner and I just said, pick anything you want, you would be drooling at all the different types of attachments that I've got. Oh my gosh. This is just the tip of the iceberg right here. So many attachments, some that are specific to certain manufacturers, but can be used on other machines. Just so many. Then with this one, they also give you a guide as well that comes with it that you can attach. Kind of cool. Original box. Yeah. Maybe we'll do that the next contest. Instead of giving away a sewing machine, maybe I'll give away a shopping spree to get attachments for machines that individual already has. That would be fun. Yeah, I think that would be fun. What is this one? I'm just going to grab one more just for fun. See what it is. So here's another auto zigzagger, but this one was made specifically by the Pfaff Sewing Machine Company. It was actually manufactured in West Germany. Yeah. Whoops, I'm dropping things. Yeah. Kind of fun, huh? So this would work nicely, say, on a 332, a 130, anything that's a lock stitch machine. And because, again, these fit to the presser foot bar, this would be a wonderful attachment for any vintage Pfaff machine, wouldn't it? Yeah. I've had this long enough, I don't even remember. It's got the original instructions, original box. Yeah, so this could be one of the items that grand prize winner, if we take that road. And I'd like to get the input from the leadership team on the next, the next major contest giveaway. But that would be a totally different thing to offer attachments instead of offering a sewing machine. Yeah. Cool. Oh my gosh, I've got so many attachments. So many. All right, let me look at the chat real quick, and then we'll continue this. Some of the attachments are worth up to $2,000. The auto zigzaggers are pricey. Huh. So anyway, I didn't see if Christine responded, but Christine, you can text me. You can send me a text later if you're willing to cover the shipping. Then I'll go ahead and get a shipping rate and let you know, and then we can work out how to handle that, etc. So this particular machine we're looking at, if you can't see it in the shot, it is a model 7530 by FOF, a Creative 7530. It probably would have come out in the 1990s, in that time frame, late 1990s, going into the year 2000s. So again, it's about 12 to 15 years old. It's not a super old machine, but again, when you're talking about the circuit boards in that, it becomes a little bit more complicated in affecting a repair unless the board itself can be repaired. So that'll be the next step in determining that. This is the foot controller that's included with it. And this style foot controller was very popular with the FOF sewing machine company starting in the 1980s. It should have a retractable cord. That was one of the key features of it. They used this as early as on the models, the 1475, 1472 CD as well. Kind of see the style of the foot controller. Yeah, this is the retractable cord right here that can be pulled out. Boy, that rubber band is on there tight. I hope I don't lose an eye trying to get this sucker off. So I'm just curious. We'll go ahead and plug this in. And yes, I have the fire extinguisher nearby just in case. Now, if this is the one with a bad board, we might just get an error message right there. We'll have to wait and see, huh? Grab this off the floor just in case. So this button must already be pushed in. Yep, the board is displaying nothing right here. You can see this indicator light on right here, which should be our needle up button. It's going to allow us to keep every time the machine stops, it'll either end with a needle down or needle up, depending on how you push the button. So I'm guessing this is the one that has the bad board. This is going to be one that has the bad board. If we push the foot controller, nothing I don't think is going to happen. We'll see. Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see what I can do with it. We'll see what I can do with it. Keep your fingers crossed, and I'll try to give updates as I go along. And we'll see if we're able to overcome this obstacle. I can only think, over the 20 plus years that I've been doing this, I can only think of a few machines that came to the workshop, either here or back in Appleton, where I was previously, that mainly because the customer wasn't wanting to invest in what was needed for the machine. And or I think we had one machine since I've been here that arrived that was packed so poorly. In fact, the gentleman that sold the machine on eBay actually entered into a dialogue with us and was apologetic said, I'm brand new to trying to do this. I didn't know how to pack it. And the machine was utterly destroyed coming to the workshop. Some of you might remember that particular machine. It wasn't a real vintage machine. It was a newer machine. probably not quite, yeah, probably not quite as new as this one, but was much newer. And in those rare instances, the machine then potentially becomes a parts machine, kind of like this 192K that received a lot of damage coming to the workshop from Oklahoma just in the last couple of weeks. And there's no dishonor in certain machines being allocated as parts machines. It really becomes the wellspring of being able to repair and restore many other machines. So out of the few comes the many opportunities to make other machines whole again. So there are select machines in my personal collection that are earmarked already and have become donor machines. Would I like to restore all of them? Absolutely. But as parts become more scarce, it sometimes becomes impossible in sourcing parts enough to restore every machine. So one machine then sacrifices itself to allow other machines to get back into operating again and enjoying greatness. Almost like a kind of like the donor. We sign our licenses in the U.S. Maybe in other parts of the world they do the same thing, and you sign up to become a donor. Where in the unfortunate instance of you passing away, your organs can then be used to give to someone that needs a liver or needs a heart or needs anything else that you're able to offer them. And that's kind of what sometimes happens. We get to that crossroad in the workshop sometimes where a machine, because of the customer's desire or because of otherwise, is not made whole again. This is very rare, very, very rare, thank goodness. But that machine then can become a donor for many, many, many other machines to become whole again. So, yeah, it's a good thing. It's the same reason that I signed the back of my license, that I can become a donor if I end up passing away in a car accident or something like that. So, yeah. All right, I'm going to look at the chat real quick. We'll get that other box up on the workshop bench real quick. Susie was disconnected from the live stream. I don't know why. Susie might be having some issues with her internet over in Minnesota. I'm seeing that we're still live at this point, so hopefully everybody else is able to see and hear what's going on. But this really is quite a lovely looking machine, in my opinion, as I'm looking at it. So I'm gonna give it a lot of workshop magic. And again, I might have to take the board or boards. This type of machine is going to have about 3 to 4 boards in it. Have to identify the board that's been damaged and then see whether or not it can be soldered. Yeah, get it working again. It says the IDT feature as well. If you're not familiar with that, the IDT feature was actually introduced back in the 1980s. It's been around for a long time. You just rotate this down right here, and then it becomes a built-in walking foot for the machine. And this became very, very popular in the FOF family of machines. Most any machine that they had would have this IDT walking foot feature. You didn't have to attach a walking foot to it. It was built in straight away. You just pull it down and employ it. And then when you're done with it, you pull it down again and pop it back up again. So really quite a nice, lovely machine, and hopefully can get it going again. Here's our data on the back of here. This must have originated out in California because there's a service, one of those obnoxious stickers. Thankfully, they had enough common sense to put it on the back of the machine. But this at some point was serviced by someone out in California. I'll get close enough to it so you can actually see the sticker. Yeah. So either, whoops, I almost took out all my guys there. Sorry about that. The dangers of having a fire extinguisher that's tippy on the workbench. Took out this poor soul. Sorry about that, buddy. You okay? Tell everybody you're okay, or they're going to probably report me to the PETA organization to saying that I'm abusing bears. I haven't given this guy a name yet. He arrived at the workshop some time ago. And when I do my still shots, I'll sometimes show my friends with the machines that I'm servicing, repairing, restoring. I've never used this gentleman before. I probably should do that. And then maybe all of you can help me pick a name for him. He's got a rifle, so he's kind of like a soldier of sorts. Yeah, I don't know what we would call him. Yeah, but he's a cool little guy. And because he's a soldier, he just took that hit with no problem. Like, yeah, whatever. Whatever. All right, let me get this out of the way before I break something else. All right, so let me move this out of the way now. And we'll get to this second box. I've got to watch my time again because of the customer arriving at the workshop around 12 noonish my time. Yeah, I think this is a nice feature. I think all foot controllers, if they're going to be separate, they should have this little feature. The unfortunate thing is that there's a spring inside of here, like a daisy wheel spring. I've actually taken these apart and repaired them before, and they give out eventually. They break just because of the stress and strain. And sometimes they don't want to retract either, so you have to kind of pull them all the way out to get them back in again. But yeah, a nice thought, a nice feature on Foff's part. So okay, so I'm going to set this here. I'll set Jane's machine right here. I'll put it over here temporarily. All right, let me get the other box on the workbench. So this is box number 2 from Jane out in Salt Lake City, Utah. Jane Davis. I did not know. Susie shared something that just blew me away. She said there are some attachments, and I might have these in the workshop and not even know it. Some attachments that are worth thousands of dollars. Who knew? Who knew? Susie's just right over in Minnesota. She should make a trip here, possibly, and she can help me assess. Just got a metal sliver. She can help me assess maybe what I have as far as attachments. Or I could always send her still shots too, couldn't I? There we go. I work with polishing wheels sometimes, and the little wires on those brushes will fly off. Sometimes they stick to the carpeting on the workshop. Hold on one second. Hey, Steve. Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually doing a live stream right now, and I was telling folks you were going to be coming to the workshop. So yeah, if you don't arrive, you said about an hour or so, 11:15. Why don't you plan on getting here around 11:30, and I'll get this other unboxing done, and then we'll get you in here and take care of things. Okay. See you at 11:30. Okay. Yeah. Thanks so much. Yep. Bye. So that was Steve, the one that I said is coming to the workshop. He's going to be arriving a little bit earlier than expected, so I've got to even talk faster now. I was expecting him at noon. Now he's going to be here at 11:30 my time, which is in about, what is that? An hour and 15 minutes. So we can surely get into this. I'll do less blah, blah, blahing. And we'll go ahead and get this next machine unboxed and see what we find. Okay, let me look at the live chat, see if there's anything I need to respond to. I don't think so. Oh, okay. A Zoom meeting. I'm not a Zoomer. You guys will have to make me smart on how to do a Zoom meeting. I've never done a Zoom meeting before. I've done, what is that one? It starts with an S. Skype. I've done Skype before. I've Skyped, but I've never Zoomed. That sounds kind of funny. I've Skyped, but I've never Zoomed before. I'm Zoomless. I'm Zoom free. Yeah, I got no idea how to do Zoom. So we'll have to figure that one out. Barney. He fits as a Barney, doesn't he? I like the name Barney. We'll have to see if we can stick with that. All right, let me check the angle of the camera. Oh, I've got to real quick do the same thing I did in the other box. I've got to cross out Jane's street address. There we go. Jane's street address, and then we can go ahead and get into this next unboxing. I wonder if Jane does Amazon. Most of you know, and Emma and I think Christine and I as well have had some conversations about the fact that I'm not an Amazon guy. I'm probably in like the 1 percentile of people that don't use Amazon. I just don't. But maybe Jane does, because this is that official Prime tape stuff that Amazon Prime users, when they get something, it's got this special tape. I don't know if you can see that in the shot or not, but it's got that special tape that, yeah, this actually came from Amazon.com, this particular box. So Jane is repurposing it. All right, so I'm going to push on this one. This one's got a little bit more play in the top of it. You can kind of see it buckling down. So I'll reset my blade a little bit, and we'll go ahead and pop this open and see what we find inside. And again, I would strongly encourage you, if you regularly get things or whatever, and you use an X-Acto knife similar to this, if yours doesn't have this adjustment lock feature, you might want to consider getting it. It really is nice, because most X-Acto knives that I worked with in the past, you pop them, they're either open or they're not. And setting the length is sometimes challenging, and locking that length in is a challenge. So this one, if I want to use this length right here, you can kind of see that in the shot. If I want to use this length, then I just screw this in. And then that blade will not move. It'll stay right at that length so that it doesn't end up slipping and cutting deeper and potentially damaging something on the other side. I'll have to look at the live chat later. When I asked the question, I don't know if anyone responded to it or not, but I'll look at the live chat afterwards. I have the chat replay on right now. I'll be curious if anyone else has been to Salt Lake City, Utah, and what your impression was. I'll have to look at the comments and see if anyone responded to that. I think I remember it being mountainous. Is that right? It's kind of a mountainous region, isn't it? They've got some big hills or big mountains or whatever you'd call them in that neck of the woods. So here, as you can see, we've got some of the, like a foam padding on top of here. And I talk about it all the time. The two areas that a machine is most likely to get damaged is from an impact on the top or on the bottom. So it's always nice to see the extra padding on top, so that if it takes a real bad hit, there's at least something there to try to shield the machine underneath it. So this is actually taped in place. So I got to kind of cut it loose. So I'm wondering real quick if I'm going to ask a totally random question. So just roll with me on it, with you. Just roll with me on this. I'm looking at the possibility in the near future, because of some circumstances and because looking, really towards the idea eventually of retiring, which I know every time I say that, people cringe and they send me notes about, no way, Jose, you're not going to ever retire. You're going to do this until you're gray old, even if we have to prop you up. And I'm sure over in England, they say the same thing to Alex Askarov as well. But Alex is stepping towards retirement, and he's starting to position his son, Tom, now as a person that probably will take over the business so that Alex and Yana can enjoy their golden years over there in the UK. But I really like the idea of moving to a warmer climate. I like the idea of not having to battle the snow. I like the idea of not having to step outside and shiver in the car until it warms up. But at the same time, I don't want extremely hot temperatures like Arizona gets and Florida gets. Any opinions? Type it in the live chat. If you were my travel agent for the future and you had absolute power to say, Scott, as you're moving towards retirement, if you decide to pull up stakes in Oconto, Wisconsin, and go to another place and continue your work for a while until you finally hang up your whatever you hang up it when you're working in the sewing restorative business, hang up your bobbins or hang up your whatever, I would recommend you look at this state. I would recommend that you look at this state as a place to wrap up your incredible, illustrious career working with vintage sewing machines and serving people around the world. Go to this state. And here's why. So if you want to share those comments in the live chat, go ahead and do that right now on where you think I potentially should look as a place to wrap up my restorative, repair, renewing business for vintage and also newer machines as well. And should look at, getting a large pitcher of lemonade and maybe a rocking chair. Yeah. Tell me where that is. Where is that for you? Where is that? Where would you recommend? Okay. Yeah. So there are mountains in Salt Lake City that reach into Wyoming, apparently. Reach into Wyoming. Cool. Yeah, I thought when I flew in, I could see the outline, and the next morning I could see off in the distance, I could see what looked like mountains. So almost as if Jane Davis was reading my mind, almost as if she was reading my mind on this box, instead of having that thin packing paper, basically, it's almost like a foam paper, real thin stuff. Here we've got some actual bubble wrap on top to provide extra protection, along with this foam pad as well. So I think this is definitely a step up from what the last box had. I definitely think it's a step up. Here we've got like a paper padding material of some sort. It almost looks like you could make a screen, or I don't know, you could use it for some sort of a divider maybe or something. It looks like it could almost become like a Chinese screen or something. This is interesting stuff, isn't it? I've never used this for packing, but apparently it's a thing, right? It's a thing. And already on top, I can see the machine, and it looks like it's going to be a similar, if not exactly the same model as the other one. It's going to be from the handle and that, it looks like it's going to be from the 7000 series of FOF more contemporary machines, but we'll have to wait and see. And again, this is giving me the impression that it probably was packed at a UPS store, because this looks like a UPS thing right here. Totally looks like a UPS thing. Adjust the camera a little bit. There we go. And I'll mention it before I forget, the next live stream I plan on doing, unless something comes up unexpected, the next live stream I plan on doing is going to be Saturday morning, and it's going to be to present a Husqvarna Model 6020, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. Yep. A Husqvarna Model 6020 that had a lot of issues going on with it. If you missed the previous live streams, this is the primary part that had to be repaired and engineered and replaced in this Model 6020 that I'm going to show you on Saturday morning. And to get this piece out took about close to 2.5 to 3 hours, removing all the stuff to get to this part that controls the cam functions and acts as a stitch selector. So sometimes just to get a part out, it takes hours to get it out of a machine, because it's buried like a car part. It's buried with a lot of stuff over the top of it. When they design cars, they really don't say, oh my gosh, what can we do to make it more convenient for the owner? What can we do to make it more convenient for the owner? What they do is they design it with a certain thing in mind. And usually it's, if this thing fails, our repair shops at the dealerships are going to make some big bucks taking care of it. And I don't know if sewing machine manufacturers had that in their hip pocket or not, but this part is definitely a nightmare to get out, and a nightmare to get it back in. And if you look real close, you can see right here, the thing that generally fails on this part are these tiny little molded teeth right here that control the cam selector and the stitch functions. You can kind of see it right there on the bottom. The teeth are actually busted off. So we will see that machine now back to greatness again on Saturday morning. And I'll probably start at the usual time, right around 9:30 Central Time. So if you're on the East Coast, that's 10:30, etc. So you can make the calculations and adjustments on that. Okay, so let's see if my hunch is correct. Let's see if my hunch is correct, and this is exactly the same model. I talked to so many people. I talked to so many folks, either by phone, by text, by email, by Facebook Messenger, just a variety of different ways. And I don't recall if she said it's the same model, but it sure looks like it might be. So let's see if we can pull this out and take a closer look. Just don't want to drop anything. Look in the bottom of here. This is going to have a slightly different padding, which is actually improved. Again, the packing on this box is better than the last one. This is a much better choice as far as a foam barrier on the bottom. It's not that rigid stuff that breaks and disintegrates into pieces when it takes a hit. This stuff has a real pliable nature to it, so it's going to almost mold around the machine, and it's going to provide a lot of shock protection. So this stuff right here that I'm pointing at is a much better choice than this stuff, and there's a little bit of this in here. Again, this stuff tends to just break like that. We've opened some boxes during these live streams and videos where there's just it looks like it basically took a shatter blast or something like that. There's little fragments of this all over the inside of the box, stuck to the machine and everything else. So it just doesn't have that resilience. This stuff here is a much better choice for packing. It's pliable and it's resilient, just like this stuff as well. This is much better stuff. So if you're going to be using packing materials, you'll definitely want to consider using this. And this new camera I'm using right now, this is another camera. I forgot to add a little barrier to the top. So if you see a little bit of a glariness, it's because there's not a barrier on top of the camera right now. As I kind of cup my hand over it, it cuts out the glare of the LED lights above. And I'll go ahead and add a little barrier. So as I'm using this camera, you won't see that glariness. But take my hand away, all of a sudden it kind of comes back a little bit, doesn't it? I've really learned a lot as I stepped into live streaming. I've learned a lot. And that is, the management of audio, the management of the video is much more complicated than I would have assumed it was. Much more complicated. So, all right, looks like everything's out of this box. Just want to double check. Yep. So I'm going to get this out of the way. And we will see if this is, and it sure looks like it is. It looks like it's exactly the same machine. And this is, in fact, it's called a Creative 7530. A Creative 7530, which is exactly the same model as the other one that we just unboxed. So now I've got two Creative 7530s, which is good news, because if I reach an impasse in not being able to repair the board that failed, then potentially one of these machines could become a donor machine if the customer gives the blessing, and then at least one of these machines can head back to Salt Lake City, Utah, fully functioning, ready to go back into service to take care of those young sewing apprentice students that are under the tutelage of Jane Davis out there in Salt Lake City, Utah. All right. Well, let's plug this one in and see what we get, if anything. And I do have I do have the fire extinguisher nearby just in case. This has exactly the same type of foot controller. You kind of place it like this, and then this bottom portion is the regulator. So it kind of goes in and out like that to control the speed of the machine. You're kind of pressing this down like so. And again, this was a very common design foot controller for machines starting all the way back in the late 1970s, going into the 1980s. I believe one of the first machines to have it was the 1472 CD. There may have been earlier ones, but that's the one that I remember is the 1472. And then there was a 1475 CD as well that introduced a brand new technology. And it was a special board, an interactive board that you could plug into the sewing machine. And then you could manually plot your dots. Each dot represented a stitch. It was very cumbersome, not very popular once people tried to do it, but you could plot your own stitch pattern and create your own stitch design by plotting these stitches. And then it would be inputted into the machine, and then it would sew that particular stitch. So that was really quite an innovative thing that, probably like the Etzel. It was more of an Etzel in that it sounded really cool. It sounded really interesting. It sounded really exciting to begin with. And then people tried to do it, and it was like, wow, maybe we should have had a bigger focus group that actually tried using this device. The machine itself was fabulous. It was still Western Germany made. the 1470, 1472 CD. So the engineering of the machine was fabulous, but that little attachment that they gave you to plot your own stitches, create your own stitch patterns, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't so great. Wasn't so great. All right. Get the fire extinguisher nearby again. I will try to not knock over any of my little friends again. Try to not knock anybody over. What does this say? There's a little note attached here. Black. Oh, okay. I see what it says. The black connector is loose. The black connector is loose. And it is jiggling, isn't it? It is jiggling. I'll have to see if I can pull that apart and see what needs to be done to make that stable. I had to do that on that machine from London. I don't know if you remember when we did the unboxing of that London machine, which was a Swedish beauty. I took that power cord on the machine. Remember that? I jiggled it, and we were getting crackling, a little bit of sparking, which is not good when you're using a step-up converter and you're running it at 250 volts. But I was able to resolve that issue as well for Adam's machine before I sent it back to London. So this is loose. We'll have to figure out and see what we need to do to make that happy again. So I'll plug it in a little bit more gently, knowing that it's already a little bit vulnerable. All right. All right, fire extinguisher is nearby. Let's see what happens. So I plugged it in. Power must be off right now because I don't see anything on the screen. The little red light for the needle up, needle down feature is not lit up. So I'm going to push the power button and get ready to, depending on where you're located, either getting ready to dial 911 or 999. And I think there's other emergency prefixes now too, aren't there? I know that I heard on the news something about another prefix change as well as far as the emergency. They're going to get us so confused on what three numbers do we hit if there's an emergency. We're going to be trying to do 999 or whatever it is, 99 something or other like they do in the UK. And yeah, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess. So this one is totally, I'm going to jiggle the power cord a little bit. This one is totally dead. This one is dead. The other one at least lit up the screen and gave us a light over here. This one is giving us nothing. I'm just going to check to see that the connection is good. Hold on a second. And this is the safest way when you're working with a machine and you're trying to determine, is there a fault in the power cord? In other words, is the power not getting to the machine? And that's why it's not lit up. And we're not getting a little red light over here. You can use something like this. It's a voltage detector. And voltage detectors are readily available pretty much anywhere. You can get them at Walmart. You can get them probably at your local hardware store, anywhere. You just turn it on and then it'll give a little beep beep. And then if we go to the back of the power cord, I'll be able to see if there's power at the point where I'm plugging it in. So listen carefully. If you hear then we have power, and it's a total failure of the circuit board and or the relays inside the machine. So I'm getting power at the cord, but that little end that Jane said was loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the other power cord, since they're exactly the same model. And I'm going to grab that other power cord that isn't loose on top, because it feels like from the voltage detector, we're getting power. Turn it around and show you. We're getting power on the cord, where if I make contact with that cord, but if I go all the way to the plug-in junction right here, where we should be getting voltage here too. Nothing. Oh, I got a little something on the bottom. Little something on the bottom. Nothing on the top, something on the bottom. So just for sake of curiosity, I'm going to pull this cord out, plug the other cord in that's with the other machine, and we'll see if we get anything different on the front screen. We might not. Bring our other machine back over. Yeah, we'll set it right over here, I think. We've got this other cord. When I was a little kid, some of you asked how I got into doing this. When I was a little kid, I would spend many hours out in a freezing garage learning from my father, who was a master mechanic, and tinkering on cars that belonged to us and friends and family. And he always said, start with the most basic solution to resolve the problem. Do a thorough examination and then start with the most basic thing. Kind of like people before have called tech services and they're trying to troubleshoot why their computer won't power up. And the technician on the other end will ask the simple question of, do you have it plugged in? And in some cases, they'll go, oh, criminy. Holy mackerel, it's not plugged in. So we're going to try this other power cord to see if this might solve our problem and at least getting something to appear on the front of this screen. I'm going to turn this around. We'll unplug the current power cord. Set this over here. Plug in our other power cord. It may not make any difference, but it may make a difference. You never know. So, and it did make a difference. And what we have is it looks like as soon as we plug this machine in, it's starting to run without pressing the foot controller. So there is a resistor either that failed in the machine or this is a faulty foot controller, because there's also resistors in here that can fail as well. And when a resistor fails, what happens is there's nothing to retard that energy back and to allow it to be regulated. It just goes, it's like a dam. It's like a dam breaking. It just goes, blah. So I'll push the foot controller, see if anything happens to the speed of the machine. Otherwise, we'll try plugging the other foot controller in to see if that makes a difference. No response. And even with the foot controller removed, it's continuing to run. So this is a resistor or relay problem inside of this machine that's allowing it to run straight away. I'll be pragmatic and just try plugging the other foot controller in anyway, but I don't suspect it's going to make any difference. Sorry. All right, so I got this other one plugged in. No difference. So I'm going to turn this off. We'll try turning it on one more time. I'm also going to disengage the clutch. And the clutch stop actions on these machines is a simple click. You don't have to turn it like you do on most machines. You know, turn it to a certain radius, and then it'll allow that clutch to release and allow the balance wheel to turn freely. On this one, it's a simple click. It's really quite nice. So let's see if it does the same thing. I'm 99.9% sure it's going to do the same thing. But it's interesting. We troubleshooted using that voltage meter, that voltage detector, and we had electricity coming all the way to the power cord, but we were not getting consistent voltage detection down at the plug-in point.
The plug-in point being, where is it? At the plug-in point here, that the owner had already pointed out that this was loose. It's not coming off, but it's pretty doggone loose. And as soon as we put that other power cord in, we got an immediate response from the machine in doing what it's doing now, which is running without being regulated by the foot controller. So it's always good, like my father taught me, it's always good to do a thorough examination and then start with the simplest thing to try to troubleshoot a machine. And you can do the same thing with your machines wherever you are located. Start with the simplest solution. Don't get all technical and say, oh, it's got to be, blah, blah, blah. Start with the simplest solution and then work your way up to the more serious issues that the machine might have. All right, here we go again. I'm expecting the same thing, and you probably are as well. Let's see if it's doing the same thing after we shut it off for a little bit, and then we turn it back on. Sometimes as a board is failing, or if a board is damaged, sometimes the machine is happy, it does wonderful things. Other times you turn it on, it does horrible things, like this one's doing right now. Now it's not running continuously. It's doing self-checking on the inside. Oh, I know what it is. Duh. Okay. I got all excited. I thought we were getting a different response. We're not. What did I do a little bit ago? And I just totally went veggie tail, blind-headed, blah, blah, blah. I disengaged the clutch. That's why we're getting movement on the balance wheel, but we're not getting movement down at the needle. See that? Start with the simplest things. Now we'll plug it in or turn on the power button, and we'll probably get exactly the same response that we did before. So both of these machines are experiencing challenges, aren't they? Both of these machines are experiencing challenges. And I'm grateful that Jane has sent them here so we can try to figure out the best solution, hopefully to get both of them back to a running condition again. But if that fails, at least getting one of them back to a running condition again so that it can be put back into service for the students in Salt Lake City waiting to and excited to learn from Jane and to gain an appreciation and a love for sewing machines. And some of them might end up becoming sewists that use the vintage machines as well. A lot of our friends, even in this live stream, a lot of our friends will tell you straight away that they have a machine similar to this that they use for the more decorative ornamental type stitching, or maybe for certain quilting applications. And then they've got their go-to workhorse vintage machines as well that they use for other applications. So I am not such a purist that I say, never ever consider getting a machine like one of these, because each machine has its strengths and its opportunities when it comes to plugging it into projects, doesn't it? So here we've got two Model 7530s that have arrived from Salt Lake City.
made in Germany at that time still. You have to be careful because some of these you'll read and it'll say designed or engineered or developed in Germany or developed in Switzerland or developed in Sweden, whatever it is. And they started doing that rebranding after they started making the machines somewhere else to still try to give people the impression that nothing has changed. The quality is still there. It still has the roots of Western Germany. That's probably true about the Pfaff brand, but some of the others out there are using a little bit of trickery to try to rebrand their machines that are not being made to the same quality standards that they used to be made and are being engineered somewhere else with very, very low standards when it comes to quality assurance. It all comes down to quality assurance, and it comes down to following a specific process and using certain quality parts to try to maintain the standard of that machine from its roots. And most companies will cave into making profit over making quality. Pfaff is one of the ones that really held out for a long time, and even today is continuing to be innovative in technology. You might remember that post I did recently on Facebook where I told you that Pfaff was actually the first, or is, Pfaff is the first sewing machine manufacturer to come up with a machine that uses artificial intelligence. It uses AI extensively in how the machine operates and how it adapts to your sewing habits and your sewing needs. So if you haven't noticed that yet, Google Pfaff artificial intelligence sewing machine, and you'll see the model that I posted about on Facebook a couple months back. So technology continues to grow. There's no way to stop it. And it continues to add new dimensions and do new dynamics to what our sewing machines are capable of doing to give us more options in our sewing habits and our sewing versatility, for lack of a better word. So at any rate, thank you to Jane for sending these two machines. I'm going to give them a major dose of workshop magic and see if we can get them back into service again. If I do, I'll by all means see if I can present them to you, maybe one-on-one workbench, one on the other, and we'll go back and forth and celebrate their rebirth and the opportunity to put them back again into commission to help kids fall in love with sewing, as all of us have already done. So I love it when kids are in the mix, don't you? And I love the fact that Jane is taking her time, her talents, and her treasures to try to impart a sense of wonder and excitement into young minds and get them turned on and excited and stoked about sewing machines, even if they're not a traditional vintage machine, because eventually they're going to realize what the vintage machines can offer and what a compliment they are to machines like this. And they're going to have the best of both worlds, aren't they? So anyway, God bless you guys. I'm going to wrap this up because my customer will be arriving soon. I've got to do some other things to get ready for them. And thank you again to the moderating team. Unless I missed somebody, we had Christine from Canada today on the moderating team. We had Emma from Florida, and we also had Sunny from the great state of Pennsylvania. So thank you to all the moderators for helping folks to feel welcome, for keeping an eye on things while I was focused over here and not trying to get shocked or set a fire or something like that. And I'll set these to the side. They're not going to be able to go on the workbench right away because so many other customers are waiting for their opportunity to land on the workbench. And so I try to keep things as fair as I can. So take care, everybody. And I'll ring the bell to signify the end of class. And watch for that next live stream, which should be, oh, the camera's moving, isn't it? The camera's got a mind of its own. There we go. Watch for that next live stream that should be presenting that Model 6020 that came in from Minnesota and now is back in a happy state again after that major part was repaired and replaced.
All right, take care, everybody. See ya. There goes that camera. That camera's going. Stop doing that. Stop doing that, you silly camera, you silly camera. I'm looking at the laptop and it's going. Oh, that's funny. All right, everybody, take care. I will end the live stream just in a little bit, just a little bit. There goes the camera again. What the heck? Salt Lake City, Utah. Very cool. Yeah, Ghost and Gremlins is right. Or I forgot to tighten something, one of the two. Probably forgot to tighten something. All right. How did I do that before? Oh, I remember what I did before. It was kind of fun. It's a little bit fun. Timer, there it is. All right, I'll set a timer for 1 minute, and then I will end the live stream. Put it right there. I think you can see that. Start the countdown. The countdown. Oh, and hello to Bill as well from Minnesota. Hope your puppy is doing well. I hadn't seen that you had popped in. Hello to Steve as well. Hello to Steven as well. I'll just scroll up real quick to see if I need to say anything real quick before I end the live stream. I don't think there's anyone else that I missed. So y'all have a great rest of the week. We're already at Thursday. And we're in 17 seconds. I'm going to click the button. So get ready for it. And the live chat will stay active for a little bit once I end the live stream. So if you're ending some quick comments, you still should have time. And we end right now.